Goeienaand, baie welkom by vanaand se uitsending van Fokus. Ek is Lynn Morris. Bietjie later in die program maak ons 'n draai by 'n rehabilitasiesentrum vir verslaafdes. Het die koronapandemie sy draaipunt bereik in Suid-Afrika? Die nuwe gevalle wat daagliks aangemeld word, is skynbaar aan die afneem, so ook die sterftes. Maar kan Suid-Afrika dalk die voorbeeld van baie ander volg, waar 'n tweede vlaag van nuwe voorvalle en sterftes die lande nou getref het? Baie lande het nou weer hulle beperkings opgeskerp en selfs weer 'n staat van inperking ingestel. Suid-Afrika het pas afbeweeg na vlak 1 van ons inperking, maar kan dit verander? Om die en ander vrae te bespreek, praat ons nou via Zoom met die tussentydse direkteur van die Instituut vir Oordraagbare Siektes, Professor Lynn Morris. And good evening, Professor Morris. Thank you so much again for availing yourself for this week of our discussion. We appreciate your time. Let's try and continue where we left off last week when the President addressed the nation. A lot of the countries, United Kingdom and others, have reinstated some of their regulations because of this second wave. Does South Africa have any similar concerns at this moment? Dit lyk asof ons probleme het met die klankgehalte van daardie uitsending en ons gaan probeer om binne oomblikke weer aan te sluit by Professor Morris. Ons het verlede week vir haar ook in die hande gekry en ons het met haar toe gepraat oor die moontlikheid van 'n tweede golf in Suid-Afrika. Maar kom ons kyk of ons kan aanbeweeg na ons ander storie vanaand, die oor dwelmverslawing. Sentrums wat mense help met dwelm- en drankverslawing het tydens die inperking ook gebuk gegaan onder talle uitdagings. Hierdie sentrums is baie afhanklik van skenkings en die gevolge van die staat van inperking op ekonomie raak hulle direk. Fokusregisseur Lynn Morris het by een van die sentrums gaan kyk hoe hulle oor die weg kom.
Die week is groot dele van die land se ekonomie weer heropen. Dit nadat baie besighede tydens die grendeltyd gesluit was of sonder 'n inkomste gelaat is. Mense het ook skofte gewerk en ander het van die huis af gewerk, maar almal was nie so gelukkig nie. Talle het ook al werke verloor. Te midde van alles kon sekere mense al gesinslewe herbou, terwyl dit vir ander net 'n moeilike tyd was, veral met mense wat dwelms en drank misbruik. Die man vertel hoe dwelms hom jare lank gijslaar gehou het.
Soos ek loop op die highway, toe slaap ek op die highway. Maar daai aan toe bid ek, toe vra ek God, hey, please help me. Let me make the right decisions in life. En daai aan toe reën dit. Maar ek het gedink gaan reën miskien vir 'n uur of iets. Maar toe reën dit die hele aand. Toe dink ek, nee, ek gaan nie so lewe nie.
Ek is nou 19 jaar op dwelms. Ek is nie bly daaroor, maar ek is nou verby daai part van my lewe en ek bly nou dat ek hier so by Tembende Manle is om my lewe uit te sorteer, want ek het 'n 4-jarige klein dogtertjie.
Die Tembende Manle sentrum is tans die tuiste van sowat 20 mense wat probeer om 'n gesonder leefwyse aan te leer en weer hul pad te vind.
Who loves us? God. Please grant us the serenity to accept the things that cannot change, the courage to change the things that can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Our vision is to assist our community because it's infested by this disease called drugs. It needs more facilities like this here to empower people because every individual is a leader. And we're short of facilities like this here. So our mission and vision is to empower people.
What do you think you need to do in order to start the first process? Drugs does not ask for a gender, religion, race, creed. It takes, it kills and it destroys. So we had to come to a point where we didn't want it to be just another statistic as far as a recovery and wellness center is. Everyone has comes to a bad point in their lives, whether they're young or older, but it's that willingness to want to change and break through that cycle. Because the time you took to do all the wrong, do you think you can match that? No. But you can do it better.
We all have addictions in our lives and things like that. We just need to identify what is that addiction. Yes. And what is...
Arkel will prefer doing the test, the 5-panel test, which will tell us everything. So we do the 5-panel test, so we'll know if it's heroin, crystal meth, mandrax, cocaine. That will give us a much bigger scale on how to detox them, because we use charcoal tablets to flush them, and we also use methadone to suppress the cramping if it's heroin. So they'll go into a week period of, we call it a leisure period, where they'll just gain their strength, and then the program will start. We do charge a small fee. With the pandemic, we have 65% that's not paying. It was, God has His hand of provision over us. We've been blessed with people stopping and giving us groceries. And we also lost one of our sponsors, Puta Ismail, that used to help us with non-perishable goods on a monthly basis. He's passed away because of COVID. Another 2 more 10 kgs of sugar, and we need some more jungle oats for the guys.
Dankzij skenkings het hulle kop bo water gehou.
We don't have any sponsors, and we do plead and ask for sponsors for Tema Namandla in Florida, and we're waiting upon. We are getting our exemption also, so we can start applying for lotto funding.
Maar die sentrum se toekoms is in gedrang nadat die eienaar die eiendom verkoop het. Die egpaar vertel dat hulle verskeie huiseienaars van verlate geboue genader het om die vakante plekke te huur.
The new owner that's made the payment this Friday has said that he has bought the property. He's giving us notice till September, end of September. So we're praying about it, and we're trusting in God. If this is not God's purpose, He will open better doors for us. The blessings, the work of God, that we've been blessed with the opportunity to rent this place.
En dit was inderdaad so.
The challenges we find. Well, we're going to be running our wellness and recovery center from this place here. So we did put in a proposal once we had notice from the premises that we were staying in, and we wrote a proposal for this premises to carry on doing the good work that we're doing. And obviously it was thumbs up by 2 board members, and the congregation Sunday gave us the go-ahead, and they've given us the keys. So the challenges that we really face is park homes, Wendy houses, ablution facilities. Yeah, so we can accommodate up to about 35 to 40 people. So those are the challenges that we meet for Tema Namandla to carry on what they're doing, empowering people and taking them to the next level and showing them life. But we can't do it without God. God is number one. God is recovery.
Daarom bemoedigende nuus. Net hierna hoop ons om wel met professor Lynn Morris te gesels oor die koronapandemie in Suid-Afrika. Bly ingeskakel. Ons gaan voort met Fokus en ons praat vanaand oor die COVID-19 pandemie in Suid-Afrika en of dinge aan het verander is en die implikasies van die inperking. So om daardie vrae te bespreek, praat ons nou via Zoom met die tussentydse direkteur van die Instituut vir Oordraagbare Siektes, Professor Lynn Morris. Professor Morris, as I was saying before we experience our technical problems, the United Kingdom have reverted, and other countries have reverted to their earlier regulations because of this second wave. Does South Africa have similar concerns, even though we've gone down to level 1?
Thanks, Alette. We definitely are concerned because we certainly don't want to go back to a lockdown. And I think, as a country, we can't afford to do that. And so it's really imperative that we try and avoid a resurgence of this virus. And, the virus loves people and loves large crowds, so that's why, mass gatherings are still not allowed, or large gatherings of people, and why we're still all wearing masks, because we really do want to avoid having this virus, come back and really cause chaos in our lives, as it is doing in many other countries.
There's been criticism, particularly of those countries in Europe, that they've opened up their borders too soon. Do we share those criticisms?
So the issue of border opening is, that's probably would be small numbers coming in through the borders, and that could probably be contained. So that's less of an issue. I think really what happened in Europe was, during the holiday season, there was, lots of partying and, and so just lots of mass gatherings and opportunities for the virus to spread. And of course, a lot of people let down their guard as well in terms of masks and hand washing, and the other things that stop this virus from spreading. So it's really more about trying to just adhere to some of the things that we should be doing, rather than necessarily stopping people coming into the country.
I refer to the applause from the World Health Organization last week, and I said that they lauded us for the fact that we went for a hard lockdown. How did we benefit from that?
So, we saw the effects of the hard lockdown. I mean, we saw the cases come down quite dramatically. So there's no doubt it did have a big impact, and it really did do what it intended to do, which bought us time. And because, we basically spread out the infections or flattened the curve. So there's no doubt that it definitely did work. And, we also saw that even in our we never had a flu epidemic this season, because, flu viruses spread the same way as coronaviruses, through the respiratory route. So the fact that we never had a flu season, speaks to the fact that these measures that we took, had a dramatic impact on the spread of viruses.
I want to quickly refer to the United States, and particularly the fatalities and the way it has been managed. What can South Africa learn from that? Because there's a lot of uncertainties in regards to what should be done and whether there is adherence to it. How have we turned that around in identifying a single message to relay and to have our citizens obey it?
So I think there's a very big difference, between our countries, certainly in terms of political leadership in dealing with this epidemic. I think, our government has been very clear on the messaging and about the prevention measures. In the US, there's been a lot of mixed messages around things like masks and around, social gatherings. And so it's really, it really speaks to, the leadership from the very top levels at how we've, as these two countries have managed these epidemics very differently.
Have we now built a herd immunity? And if we have, how do we know and clarify for how long this will last?
So, as you can see, the curve, the number of infections is coming down. We peaked at about, sort of mid-July. And since mid-July, the number of cases have slowly been coming down. But, the last few weeks, they've sort of been trickling along between 1,000 and 2,000. So they're not coming down as much as we would like them to. And that is concerning, because it really does mean that it could, it could take off quite quickly. The sort of the burning embers could ignite again. So we're not seeing that, the steepness of the curve in the way that we would like. So there's still that, potential for, for the virus to resurge.
What are the knowns and the unknowns in approaching and maintaining level 1? Because we now do have more people who are able to return to work. We also have more people that are bigger numbers that can gather. What are your concerns with that new normal?
Sorry, it was a bit hard to hear you there.
With the fact that, what are the concerns that you have for the fact that so many people are able to return to work, firstly, and secondly, that the numbers which can gather at events that are increased as well?
Yes, so that's why, yeah, we're still in level 1 lockdown, and we certainly need to maintain that. So, you know, we still have a large number of people in this country that are susceptible to this virus. You know, some of the studies that we're doing now, we'll be looking at what is called the prevalence of people who've been infected. You know, are showing about 30 to 40% of our population, certainly in the urban areas, appear to have been exposed to this virus. Either they knew it or they didn't know it. But that still means that there's a significant number of people that are still vulnerable, to getting infected. So that's why we do need to continue to practice this social distancing.
Can we say with certainty what our actual rate of infection has been thus far?
So we're busy doing those studies right now, and as I mentioned, you know, it's just been done in the urban. So there's been studies done in in Cape Town, and some studies now in Gauteng that are showing a pretty high level of what is called antibodies to the virus. So that means that your body has seen the virus and you responded to it. So you've recovered. And in fact, as I said, many people are not even aware that they were infected, in fact. And so these tests are telling us that indeed this virus did spread quite wide. It's been spread quite widely through some of our communities.
I'm hoping to continue in our second break and just talk a little bit about the app, and also you mentioned some of the studies that you're doing, and then I also want to talk about some vaccines. Baie dankie net hierna sit ons die gesprek voort. Ons hoop die tegniese probleme is dan uitgesorteer en ons kan verder met professor Morris op 'n beter lyn gesels. Bly ingeskakel. Ons praat vanaand oor die COVID-19 pandemie in Suid-Afrika en wat ons kan verwag van die verspreiding van die virus. En ons wil weet of die ergste verby is. Ons gas is professor Lynn Morris van die Instituut vir Oordraagbare Siektes. Professor Morris, you've elected to be part of the clinical trials for Novavax. Can you possibly elaborate on that, and also talk about all the other vaccines being tested, not only in South Africa, but around the world, and if there are any new developments with regard to that?
Yes, thanks very much. So there are new developments literally every day with vaccines. There's a lot going on and a lot of optimism because, the signs so far are that these vaccines are generally doing what we're hoping they're going to do, which is stimulate the right kinds of immune responses. So this is your body responding in a way that we think is going to provide protection against the virus. So the vaccine, that's the trial that I'm taking part in, the Novavax trial, is really a kind of a traditional vaccine. It uses a part of the virus, and it's a recombinant vaccine. So it's been made in a laboratory. So it's just a small part of the virus. And so my body thinks that it's seen the real deal, and it starts responding and starts making antibodies, so that if I do see the real virus, I can basically fend it off. But there are lots of vaccines being developed, some using very advanced technologies, and there are a number of vaccines now in what are called efficacy trials. So that's really where large numbers of people, and we're going to be able to tell whether these vaccines really are providing, protection. But the challenge with the vaccine trials, of course, particularly now in South Africa, with the cases coming down, is that, because obviously the trial needs to have what are called endpoints. You need to have infections in the trial in order to see whether the people that got the vaccine are protected. But with the declining numbers of cases, the trials are going to take longer to get a result.
You referred earlier to some of the studies that are being done, And this app that we heard the president refer to last week, a lot of countries are doing something similar where they're trying to engage a little bit more, also for contact tracing. What has been the response? Because there's a lot of skepticism and people are a bit concerned about the privacy. What is the essential need for an app, and what will it help, and how will it help scientists and our fight in South Africa to combat COVID-19?
So thank you. Yes. So the COVID Connect is an app, and it works on Bluetooth technology. So it's completely anonymized. Nobody can trace you. And it works on a very unique system of tagging people that are close to you without actually, revealing any personal information. So people really have to have they should have no concerns around privacy with this app. In fact, it was very rigorously, assessed for those, for that reason. And so this app really allows us to identify where there might be hotspots. So when I was talking about, these embers, suddenly, taking off, if there are enough people using the app, we're going to be able to identify those hotspots quickly, and then we can move in and, and deal with outbreaks. And that's the way, that we want to try and prevent this virus from really getting out of control again, is by doing rapid contact tracing. And obviously that relies on rapid turnarounds for test results so that we can act quickly.
In your 27 years at the NICD, you've seen TB, you've seen Ebola, you've seen and experienced and worked on HIV cases. And now this is becoming the new normal, not only in South Africa, but also in the world. What have you learned that you did not know from the 15th of March when the president announced that we're going into a lockdown?
Oh, well, I mean, most of what we know now, we didn't know in the 15th of March. I mean, one of the major things I think that we didn't know is that this virus can spread by aerosols. And that, is a big, because that's how it transmits, and that's why masks work. But, right in the beginning, we didn't know that. And so we're learning all the time. And, it's really a disease with a broad spectrum. So, some people are completely unaware that they are infected and will clear the virus. And the only remnant are these antibodies that you can measure later. Right, of course, to the spectrum of severe illness and death. It's a huge range.
Professor Morris, I have to unfortunately interrupt you, but I want to thank you for your time this evening on Fokus. Ongelukkig moet ons vir Professor Morris daar onderbreek. Jammer daarvoor, want tyd het ons ongelukkig ingehaal, ook weens die tegniese probleme, maar dis ongelukkig al vir vanaand. Onthou Fokus word elke donderdagoggend om 10:30 op SABC 2 herhaal. Ons is nog steeds beskikbaar op YouTube en jy kan ons maklik genoeg kry. As jy met ons kontak wil maak, kan jy ons Facebookblad besoek of jy kan vir ons 'n e-pos stuur. Ons lees dit graag. Jy stuur dit aan Fokus by sabc.co.za. Jy bly op hoogte van ons stories op ons Fokusblad op Facebook en jy kan ons ook volg op Twitter by Fokus ZA. Baie dankie vir die saamkyk. Sterkte, gesond bly en geniet Erfenisdag môre. Totsiens.